Hello, and welcome to a brand new series of the Transform My Dance Studio podcast. My name is Jody Schilling, and I am a studio growth coach here at the Dance Studio Owners Inner Circle. Over the next 6 weeks, we are delighted to be introducing guest host and fellow Inner Circle coach, Cara Poppitt, for this unmissable new series, Leading the Dance, Empowered Leadership in Dance Studios. Cara is not only one of the DSOA's industry-leading coaches inside the Dance Studio Owners Inner Circle, she is also the founding and artistic director of Soul Connection in Calgary and the founder and CEO of the Studio Fine Arts Club. Throughout this series, Cara will explore the essential elements of leadership and guide listeners on how to develop the skills and mindset needed to become an effective leader in your dance studio. Whether you're leading a team at work or simply looking to improve your personal leadership skills, join Cara as she takes you on a journey through the world of leadership and discover what it takes to connect and collaborate to lead. Now, on to this week's episode of Leading the Dance with Cara Poppitt.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our leadership podcast. It's Cara Poppitt. I'm delighted to be here today, and I thank you for sharing some time with me so that you can continue to grow your leadership skills and make the impact that you want. So, friendly reminder that there were some sessions prior to this, some episodes that talk about the power of connection and collaboration in order to lead. In our second episode, we really went into defining leadership, what it is, and how to get there. And in our third episode, we talked about the shift from management and stepping into leadership. And today we are talking about communication and connection, which is the core of leadership. So I want you to take a moment just to reflect on how we interpret the world. Every single day, you make over 70,000 decisions. That is crazy. You have 70,000 thoughts a day. And of those thoughts, 90% of them to 95% of them, if you can believe that, are repetitive thoughts. And so bringing this awareness to you, it just shows how we are programmed and how we are operating out of the subconscious, and we're not even aware of our thoughts, and we're not even consciously making decisions. We're just operating. And so with this realization, there's an opportunity for you to pause, there's an opportunity for you to reflect, and there's an opportunity for you to grow. So we interpret the world by our values, our past beliefs, and our experiences. And we know that other people's perception is their reality. And I invite you to ask yourself and reflect that your perception is also your reality. So the way you lead people is based on your values, your past beliefs and experiences, and others are interpreting it based on theirs. And so there's always a gap between what is intended and what is received. And so the role of a leader is to be so crystal clear that both parties can understand. And the words we use mean the same things because we interpret words and meanings differently. So remember that your perception is your reality and their perception is their reality. And you want to mind the gap. You want to get as close as possible to speaking the same language so that both people are understanding. Now, communication and connection is so important in leadership because first we need to connect people so that we can become better and effective communicators. If there is one strength that you need to strengthen as a leader and you only have, a small amount of time, it is to devote it to communication. The more effective you are able to communicate, the better you are able to delegate, to inspire, to empower, to ask questions, to manage difficult conversations with your teachers, to manage hard conversations with parents, and to really lead your business to greatness. And that is what I want for all of you, is to lead your business to greatness, however you define greatness to be in your own personal and professional lives. So take a moment just to reflect on, what does success look like in your business? And what does success look like in your leadership style? So we all have different leadership styles. I tend to be strength-based leadership. So I like to highlight people's strengths and amplify them. Yes, we can touch and work on the weaknesses, but I find a greater ROI and greater satisfaction for the team member when we really just focus and amplify the strengths. So get curious of your different learning or your different leadership style and be aware of how you are communicating to your team. We're going to pop over now to learning styles. So everyone has a different learning style, and this is going to be applicable to students as you're teaching them dance, as well as your team members that work with you. So the first learning style is visual, where we are very spatial, and when we see it, we understand it. The second style is verbal. So they need to be able to speak it and hear it. 80% of the world is verbal communicators, and there's 20% that are not. And most people have a dominant and a second type as well. And so becoming really curious of how your students learn and how your teachers learn will allow you to communicate more effectively. The third is physical, which is kinesthetic. So they're actually moving their bodies, they're writing the notes out, they're physically doing something to be able to learn it. The fourth is logical, which is mathematical. So they need to have more reason and science behind it. So 1 + 1 is 2. That's mathematical. They can understand it. They can interpret it. They need to understand how things add up to make sense of the world. And then the last one is social. So they are very interpersonal. They like to connect with others. They learn through experiences, and that is how they interpret the world. So get curious on your learning style. And if you don't know it, there's a ton of free assessments you can do online. You answer a whole bunch of questions, and then you figure out what learning style you are. And it will probably be fascinating, especially if you had any learning challenges in school. You're going to have a reason and rationale for that later on. So be curious of your learning style and start paying attention to it so you can identify your team members' learning styles, because that is going to help you be more effective delegating, communicating, sharing, and getting the results that you want. We are driven by results. And so you might be, a little bit annoyed or stressed out if you're like, man, I keep saying the same thing over and over and they're not doing it. Well, chances are you need to change the way you're saying it or the way you're doing it so that they can receive it. So part of leadership is being flexible to adjust our own dominant style and make sure that we can deliver in the recipient's style as well. So after we understand learning styles, we can become curious, we can become better, effective communicators. Now, that's not the only thing we need. We actually need to be aware of the barriers that prevent effective communication. And so the first barrier that's most common is that we're instantly and automatically judging the other person. So let's be real. Whenever we meet anyone, within the first 2 seconds, subconsciously, we make a judgment. We judge their clothes, we judge their image, we judge their energy, we judge their actions, how they're speaking. It just happens. And so judging the other person can be a huge block to communication because we are already profiling the person and we're making assumptions about them. The second one is not paying attention to the person that you are speaking with. So we are bombarded with many distractions and many demands in our days. And even just giving eye contact to somebody one-on-one without looking at your phone, without doing a million things, is about being present. And presence allows you to connect to a higher level with people. So ask yourself, are you paying attention to the person you are speaking with, or are you looking at them with your eyeballs, but you're thinking about a million things? So getting present and paying attention to the person you are speaking with. Most people don't pay enough attention, and so it is a huge barrier to communication. The third barrier to communication is using technical language. And I want you to remember this, especially when you're training your admin team, when they are helping and serving clients coming into the studio for the first time. Nobody wants to feel shamed. Nobody wants to feel dumb. Nobody wants to feel less than. And I know it's not our intention, but some of the language we use can be overwhelming to people. So if someone's coming in and saying, hey, I want to sign up my daughter for dance class, and you start going, great. Do you want a seasonal? Do you want an annual? Do you want a competitive? Do you want a pre-competitive? What is the program you're looking for? And they're like, I don't know. Like, I just wanted my daughter dances in this kitchen. She loves music. Like, I just want to know what you have. It can be very overwhelming. I know it's clear in your mind what all these divisions are, but it's not clear to the average person. So asking better questions like, great, are you looking for a daytime or an evening class, right? You get it a wider lens and then you filter it in. Wonderful. Are you looking for just for fun? Are you looking to be, have higher commitment and joining one of our dance teams? Because we have 2 different divisions and you can elaborate. So ask your questions wider in scope to let people feel comfortable, and remember to put yourself in their shoes. So put yourself in a sport you know nothing about and they start asking you about different equipment or different sticks or different rules and you just feel overwhelmed. A person that feels overwhelmed will not make decisions. So the more you give all the information out because you think you're trying to be helpful, you're overwhelming them and it's not helpful. So when people come in, have the mindset that you're here to help. You want to ask a few key questions to get the information you need, and then you deliver only the information that is relevant to them, because everyone has an ability to retain a certain amount of info. No one can retain every single thing that you've said. So the power of your questions is so important because it will get you to the solution quicker, faster, and more effectively. So write out some questions that are going to be helpful for your team and make sure everyone's trained on them. Take a wide lens and then funnel it into more specific lens. So we want to avoid judging the other person. We want to avoid not paying attention. We want to avoid using technical language. And we also want to avoid giving solutions or unwanted advice too soon. When you give advice without building rapport, you've probably offended the person, or the person's just not going to take it anyways. So if a mom is saying, oh, it's so hard to get my child here on time, they're so sleepy, and then you jump in with some parenting advice to go, oh, well, it's really important that you put your child to bed at a regular time. And, maybe you could go to bed a little earlier. That is shaming for a parent. And so being aware of just how quick do you jump in with advice? And have you built rapport? That's what I want you to ask yourself. Have you built rapport that the person can trust you, that they can receive the advice, or are you just speaking to speak? And then the last one is avoiding the concerns of others. So when you're constantly in motion and you're doing your day-to-day and you're trying to communicate, are you avoiding the concerns of others? So is there something that you just know in your gut, or the energy you feel when you enter a room, or, a note that was passed, whatever it is, are you avoiding the concerns of others? You don't always have to accept people's suggestions or their concerns, but you absolutely need to validate and just acknowledge them and say, thanks for that suggestion. Here's why we do this. No, we can't make that accommodation. Boom. And if the person challenges you, then you can get a little more specific and you have decisions to make if that person's a good fit or not for your organization. So I want you to be aware of the barriers to effective communication. Again, just to list them, you're judging the other person, not paying attention to the person you're speaking with, you're using technical language, you're giving solutions or unwanted advice. And fifth, you're avoiding the concerns of others. So many times I see in conversation when we have a conflict, as a person says something, another person reaffirms their position, and then we just go back into repeating. I repeat it, and there's no resolution. And so being able to acknowledge the concerns of other people will allow you to move closer to a resolution, which we'll talk about in a moment. So on the flip side of ineffective communication, let's get to the juice of effective communication. The reason why I want you to be mindful of the ineffective communication is you're probably doing some of it and you're going to start identifying it in other people so you can help coach and guide them as well. And always we're on a journey, myself included. I don't have all the answers. I'm always open to learning, and I'll never reach the destination point where I feel like I'm the perfect leader. I'm going to make bumps. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to reflect. My ego is going to get in the way. These are all natural tendencies. But if you have some frameworks of where you're working towards, higher probability you're going to get there. So effective communication is about active listening. I like to say you're listening with your eyeballs. Your eyeballs are focused on them. You're present, you're paying attention, and you're actively acknowledged. Maybe it's like a head nod. Maybe it's as simple as, yeah, I understand. But all of those things are really important when we're listening. The next one is nonverbal communication. So pay attention to how your body is. Are your arms folded? Are your hands in a fist? Are your hands behind you? All of these nonverbal communications, and of other people as well, tells a lot. So if your arms are crossed, you're usually close to the information. If you're hiding your hands, usually you're hiding something. Most people feel trustworthy when people can see their hands. So news reporters sit at a certain height so that people can see their hands. The hands makes you feel safe. And from a psychological perspective, it can go back to the times of the war where people are wondering if they have a weapon in their hands. So when you're speaking, pay attention to your hand language. Are you showing people your hands? Are your hands in your pocket? All of those things matter. The next thing is asking questions. Ask questions that are going to get you to solutions rather than just asking a random question. Effective communication is about having intention with your questions and always serving the other person. The next one is being clear. We need to be clear when we are communicating. Try to use specific words, specific measures, specific behaviors to define the behaviors you want to see, the actions you want people to take, the more clarity you provide, the easier it is for all learning styles to be able to take that information, apply it, and then produce the results that you are wanting as a leader. So be clear. So remember, we want to have active listening. We want to pay attention to our nonverbal communication. We want to ask empowering, clarifying questions. We want to be clear in our response. And then we want to get to clarifying and summarizing. So wrapping up conversations by clarifying anything else, summarizing it, and being able to move into a resolution phase. The next thing is about being empathetic. How you show up as a leader is really, really important because people do business with people they like. People work for people they like. People want to be in organizations that they like. And so if you have no empathy, you're going to need to start working on it because we are human beings with feelings, right? So even if you're like, hey, like, I don't really have feelings, I'm not really in tune with that. It's okay. I hear you, but everyone else has feelings and you do too, but you might just be, operating from a different scope and a different mindset, which is totally fine. But as a leader, you need to tap into the empathy because empathy is going to get you results. The next thing is about providing feedback. Provide feedback to your team because most people want to grow. They want to know what they've done well, and they want to know if there's something that you would like to have changed. And so as a leader, kind of figure out your rhythm and your pulse for how often are you connecting with people for your team meetings? How often are you doing assessments? How often are you parent facing? All of those things to provide feedback are really what's going to make you stand out as an incredible leader. And the more specific your feedback can become, the better it will be to build rapport, which leads me to the next item, which is developing trust and rapport. So rapport is built over time by showing up consistently in the same manner. And as a leader, this is important for your team. You cannot show up as a hot mess one day and then a cool, calm, collective boss the next day, and then a high energy person the following day. People don't know what to expect. And I want you to remember that you are one person. Yes, you can amplify different traits of you at different times. That's normal. But the more you can just be yourself, the easier it will become to lead. So whatever your natural tendencies are, be aware of them and then develop some new skills, but always remember you are one person. And it is way easier just to be you than to try to be somebody that you're not. This leads us to presence. The people that have presence are usually the most comfortable with themselves. They can show up in any situation and they are still themselves and they are open and they are present. So I want you to be just aware of the presence you have with people and your level of being present in any given situation, because all of that is going to help you have effective communication. So let's get to this tough stuff when we have difficult conversations, because they are going to come up in business and in life. You know me, as my motto is always kind and firm. You always be kind to people first because people want to feel good in your presence, even when you have to redirect them. And you be firm by placing some boundaries. There are some people that will always question or ask or suggest or imply, and you can't meet everybody's needs. It's not possible because your scope, you are protecting the entire culture of the business, the entire entity, the entire student body, the entire parent body. There are so many moving factors, and everybody is coming to you only seeing from their lens and their perspective. So it's not possible for you to always adjust and accommodate everyone. I want you to know that that's not normal. So stop striving to be able to do that. So being kind and firm is going to set a nice standard for yourself. You might have, different words that resonate with you. That's great. Mine are kind and firm, but you're going to pick out your own as well. Now, how we deal with difficult conversations is through this 4-step formula that I've created. The first one is you listen to the person. Again, you actively listen with your eyeballs. You're paying attention. You're connecting with them. The second is you're validating them. So it could be like, yes, I hear where you're coming from. Validation is not, yes, I understand and you're right and I'm wrong. It's not about that. It's just validating, because it is okay to have difference of perspectives and it is okay to have different of opinions. We're all different. The third one is when we go into explanation. So this is where we stick to the facts and we explain the details. We don't go into emotion. We don't go into opinions. We stick to the facts. So as an example, if a student's showing up 10 minutes late, instead of saying, your child's always late, you could say, I've noticed the last 4 weeks, your child has been 10 minutes late each class. We need to resolve this. I'm sticking to the facts, not, your child's late, always late. It's so disrespectful. We're finding it, blah, 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 blah. We're going on and on and on. we want to just avoid defending. There's nothing to defend at this point. Okay. It's not about being defensive. It's not about being defending. It's about explanation, facts, black and white. So we listen to the person, we validate the person, we explain the situation with facts, and then we move into resolution. The majority of people never move to resolution. And this is a massive mistake, because this is why the same issues keep happening over and over again. And you're dealing with the same problems and you're not making progress. You're not able to move forward because you have not resolved. So what resolution can look like is, I understand how you could feel that way, and I'm on your team, and I'd like to share some clarity, go into the facts. And moving forward, what I'd like from you is, if this happens again, please reach out to me earlier so we can come up with a solution. I'm also going to send you an email on what we discussed today, so we're both on the same page, because I want to make sure that you have a successful season with us. Boom, you've resolved. You've told them what to do moving forward or in the future. You're not shaming or shooting the person, and you're creating an action plan. You're going to send the email. It's black and white. So no matter how they learn, no matter how they interpret, the facts are on the page. I highly encourage you to do this, especially if you have people on your team that are constantly causing you problems or causing you stress. Okay, so it's very, very important just to be mindful of what can you do to elevate your leadership so that you can better serve your team members. So we have, a leadership style. So mind is kind and firm. Now we have a framework for dealing with difficult conversations: listening, validating, explaining, and resolving. And I want you to know that you're going to build rapport with people over time by being consistent and fair, and it will not always be 100% comfortable. I think we all strive for leadership that's just easy and fluid and flowing, and we don't have problems and everyone gets along. Leadership is hard, you guys. I'm not going to lie and say that it's super easy. And the more you work it out, it's like a muscle. The more you work out, the better you become, the stronger you become. Leadership is a mindset, and then it goes into action. You need an action plan to make your leadership come to life. I like to tell people in difficult conversations that we are going to have a difficult conversation, and the intention is that it will lead for positive outcomes for both of us. Okay, so I'm addressing what it is, I'm getting ahead of it, and I'm saying that the intention is I want to have a positive outcome. So to wrap up the difficult conversation section, I want you to know that leaders need to have the courage. Yes, I'm going to say that again. You need courage to say the things that are needed for the best interest of the group of people. And no, it's not going to always be easy. And no, it's not always going to be rewarding. And yes, you are going to question yourself, but you are the keeper of the studio. You are seeing the studio from a lens that nobody is seeing from. No, it's impossible. And sometimes when I hear studio owners say, I wish they could see it from my perspective, or I wish they cared about my business as much as I did, nobody ever will do that. And so if you can just accept and acknowledge that principle, you'll stop striving to achieve it, and you'll stop getting so disappointed in people. Nobody cares the way you care, because you're the one that took out the risk. You're the one that put out the money. You're the one that had the restless nights. You're the one that has to fix up the mess. That's you. That's your job. So I want you just to be mindful that it's going to be hard, and it doesn't mean you suck at it. It means you have to work at it. And like anything, the more you put into anything is the more you're going to get out of it. So be aware of that you are protecting the best interests of the group, and you are protecting your culture as a leader. So to wrap things up, I want you to always remember your role as a leader. And what's helped me in some times that are challenging is to identify that you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of your thoughts. So you take a step away from all of the things that are going on in your mind and go, okay, I'm not my thoughts. I'm not a bad person. I'm the thinker of my thoughts. I'm experiencing them, and I'm going to move forward. Reflection is key for any leader. This is how we evolve, and we grow our personal boundaries, and we grow to the next levels. If you are not interested in growth, nothing will change for you in your life or in your relationships or in your success level. Growing allows you to evolve and become your personal best. And so when you're uncomfortable, you're growing. Clint always says growth doesn't sit in comfort. Remind yourself that. And I always say that, when I have some fear, it's healthy, because fear will move me forward. Fear will grow me forward as well. So ask yourself for some feedback. Ask yourself, how can you be better? And explore the feedback. I love asking my team for feedback. And I ask myself for feedback too, to say, okay, Cara, how would you have liked to have dealt with this? What did you learn from this? Moving forward, what are you going to do? And then I can literally wrap up a situation, put it aside, and move forward and not let a negative situation suck my energy. Remember that it's not just time that you need to protect. It is your energy, because time and energy will bring you to peace of mind, which is something we all crave. We want peace of mind that our businesses are running well. We want peace of mind that our financial position is good. We want peace of mind that we can live our best life. And it's going to happen when you become really protective of your time and energy. So when you step into leadership, you're going to get more control of your time and energy over time. But at the beginning, it's going to cost you time and energy to save you time and energy later on. So I want you to remember that leadership is all about effective communication, because with better communication skills, we are able to delegate tasks properly. We can set up policies with confidence. We can set clear expectations that people understand and act from. We can communicate better to our students. And most importantly, we can make the impact that we are wanting to in our community. So if there is one skill, one thing that you're going to focus on in the next 30 to 60 to 90 days, I want it to be your communication. So like anything, nothing's going to change unless you have an action plan. I'm huge on action plans. So I'm going to give you 3 things that you can start paying attention to. Start paying attention. Number 1, start paying attention to the words you say. Ask yourself, are you speaking from ego or are you speaking from heart? Are you defending or are you open? Just start paying attention to the words you say often. Do you always apologize before a sentence begins? I'm so sorry to bother you, blah, blah, blah. Do you say, I know you're not going to like this, and then go into your thing? Just start paying attention to the words that you often say or the phrases you often say. Number 2, I want you to pay attention to if you interrupt people regularly. This is a huge thing for most people because we are not focusing on active listening skills. I want you to get in the habit of letting people complete a full sentence and take a breath before you pipe in. Sometimes silence and listening gives you the best clarity. Remember, as a leader, you don't need to have all the answers. You need to create an environment where people feel safe to move forward towards your vision, but you don't need to know all the steps in between. So number 1, start paying attention to your words you say. Number 2, start paying attention if you interrupt people. And if so, I want you to focus on active listening skills. And number 3, become curious of your own thoughts. Ask yourself, is this true when you have negative thoughts about yourself? Is this true? Do I have limiting beliefs? What else could this mean? What did I learn? And how can I move forward? My friends, I'm so honored to be able to work with you daily in the inner circle and connect with you and help you make progress in your leadership, because leadership is what is needed now more than ever. It's going to require you to be vulnerable. It's going to require you to step out, and it's going to require you to be real. So I always love saying, peace out and keep it real. So I'm going to wrap up with this session saying, peace out and keep it real. Keep doing the work, you guys. Have an awesome day. And remember that everything you need is inside of yourself. You just need to access it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
We hope you loved our brand new series, Leading the Dance, Empowered Leadership in Dance Studios with Cara Poppitt. Your ratings and reviews help us to bring you this value-packed podcast every single week. So please make sure to leave us some stars and your comments wherever you listen to your podcast. We look forward to seeing you next week.